Welcome to Hockey Sense, everybody. Happy 4th of July. Are you kidding me? The 4th of July is here already. We got to the NHL draft. I was in Buffalo last week. I hope you enjoyed the show last week with Robert Thomas right here on Hockey Sense, brought to you by First Community. First Community. Find the loan that's best for you. I'm going on vacation in a few weeks. Would it be possible without that vacation loan or the vacation, you can call it a loan, but I like to call it a vacation savings account with First Community. You put money in every month, you save it up, and guess what? Now your vacation's paid for through First Community. Unbelievable. And they've got so many different options for you to do your banking. They also have that Little Blues program. Get your son or daughter signed up for Little Blues and do it today. Little Blues, the best option to introduce your son or daughter to the game of ice hockey. And nobody supports hockey here in St. Louis like First Community. So we thank all our friends over at First Community. Happy 4th of July to Glenn, to Laura, to everybody with First Community. And thank you so much for all your support that you give us as our title sponsor here on Hockey Sense, live from Half Coast Studios. Dirt Cheap Fun, your one-stop party shop, the Wallace family. I mean, just flat out getting it done, taking St. Louis to the next level, one dirt cheap at a time. Yes, we love Dirt Cheap. You know, you get free delivery if you live within 10 miles of a Dirt Cheap location. You have to place your order on the app. You got to check out the app for further details. But that's the deal, free delivery if you live within 10 miles of a Dirt Cheap location, which I'm sure you do. So check that out. Dirt Cheap Fun, your one-stop party shop, baby. They've got that incredible walk-in beer cooler, too. Best selection of beer, wine, and booze. And that would come in handy this weekend on the 4th of July. Are you kidding me? It's like Paul's Market. Go to Paul's Market, get all your steaks and everything you need right there. It's a St. Louis institution out in Ferguson. They've been there for 70 years. I know people who grew up in North County, and I bring up Paul's Market. It is a St. Louis institution. You've got more former blues players and current blues players and Cardinal players who get all their steaks delivered to their house through Paul's Market. You can have it delivered. Reach out to me. I'll give you some information. Best quality, best selection, unbelievable. Jerry, Tom, everybody over there with Paul's Market. So check it out and check it out today. Lordo's Diamonds, are you looking to pop the question? That couple just popped the question the other day on the top of the Empire State Building. I wonder if they got that ring from Lordo's Diamonds. They should have. Otherwise, they overpaid. It's probably not good quality anyway. You get the best quality at Lordo's Diamonds. Mike and Jimmy Lordo, they're the absolute best. Happy 4th of July to them. Lordo's Diamonds, they've been around for almost 70 years. Are you kidding me? That means you're doing it right. Right there in the heart of Ladue. 314-432-8008. It's right next to Truffles. You just can't miss it. Lordo's Diamonds. Get that special someone, something special in your life. Best selection of engagement rings, all types of jewelry. Great selection of men's watches, too. Men's chains, if you're looking for something as well. On the men's side, you can find that at Lordo's Diamonds. There's no doubt about that. All right, Blue Note Roofing, 314-920-5713. Call David Novak today. Get that new roof and get it today. Gutters, soffit, fascia, whatever it is you're looking for, siding, they do it all. And he'll talk pucks with you. He's got an opinion, informed opinion, and an educated opinion on the St. Louis Blues and the NHL. So you can talk to David Novak about that. But get that free estimate and get it today over at Blue Note Roofing. Happy 4th to you, David Novak. 314-920-5713 for Blue Note Roofing, baby. All right, where do we start? So Tynan Lawrence, the Blues take him with the 11th overall selection. Not a big surprise. I really thought it would come down to him or Alexander Command, and it was interesting because Command went 12th overall, the next pick to the New Jersey Devils, and it almost came down to a coin flip for the Blues. I think a lot of people had interest, more people had interest in Lawrence. I'm sure there was some interest in the room and a few other players as well. But they get their guy. And listen, Lawrence is going to be an interesting player to pay attention to. He came into last season with so much hype, left midway through to go to Boston University. You probably know the story by now. He was in Muskegon. The year prior to that, he had an incredible year. He was the MVP of the Clark Cup playoffs in the USHL. People rave about his high motor, the energy that he brings, his work ethic, and you know, he'll be a guy that, you know, we'll be counting on to add significant depth at the center ice position moving forward, who could also put the puck in the net, kill penalties, be hard to play against. just with his energy. He's not the most physical player. He's not heavy. He's not going to run you through the wall. He's not going to have devastating hits. Now, Maddox Dagenais, who the Blues took with the 16th overall pick, now he could be that guy. He's more of a prolific, um, signature power forward in terms of how he plays, although he plays the center position too. Um, he's known for his physicality, from you see all the highlights, you see the reverse hits and some of the stuff that he does when the puck's on his stick. He's more of a physical presence. And I really like this Dagenais a lot. And I know there's a lot of people that are super um, excited about what he can bring to the table. So the Blues really shore up the middle of the center ice position by getting those two guys. Um, I'm sure there was some talk about some other players um, who were taken. One guy that kind of had my attention, and I was just really curious to see where he was going to end up going. And I thought maybe the Blues would take a stab at him, but the Finn Savanto thought maybe there was a chance that he would find his way here. Ended up going to Washington, I believe, with the 18th overall pick. So you had some options up the middle. I'm just looking at centers in terms of maybe who could be there when the Blues, were set to pick 11th overall, where they took Lawrence. But again, coming into the season, he was the hot name. There was some talk about him going in the top 5, dropped a little bit. Not a whole lot of production at BU. We're going to get the head coach over there with the BU Terriers, Jay Pandolfo, who's been on the Canister podcast prior to Macklin Celebrini being taken first overall a few years back. At the Christmas break, we had Pandolfo on. It's the first time anyone had heard him compare Celebrini to Crosby. Now that's the natural comparison that a lot of people make when you look at Macklin Celebrini's game. But we'll get Jay Pandolfo on here. I want him to give us his take on Tynan Lawrence and what he sees in him, both now and obviously into the future. But he's a player we'll certainly be paying attention to and watching as we move forward. I did talk to Lawrence at the draft. We'll get him on Hockey Sense here very soon. He was in town all week for the development camp. The Blues weren't on the ice. I don't know how to look at that. I know the fans would love to see the players on the ice. And listen, I will say there's a danger when you get these guys on the ice. And I know you're seeing all the highlights right now with Stenberg in San Jose. You got, Montreal doing their thing. You got a Hage and these guys, performing in the shootout and doing some dazzling moves. And it makes, a lot of fun, and it gets a lot of attention on social media. Gavin McKenna being on the ice. I will say, I think sometimes you can get too excited or form an opinion, I should say, during prospect camp that I think sometimes we read too much into it. I've loved watching it. It's always been my favorite event here, year after year after year. So to not have the players on the ice, I don't love that, selfishly, because I want to see the guys skate. But I understand why the Blues wouldn't do it. I think when you have players coming in they come into town, and everyone's, has all different situations. Some guys have just finished their season. Some guys have been off the ice for a couple of months. Some guys have been training. Some guys haven't been. Some guys are dealing with injury. Some guys are healthy. And it's 3-on-3. At least that's what we've seen in the past with the Blues in prospect camp. And they do these 3-on-3 scrimmages. I like the practices even more than the scrimmage. But sometimes you can get a little too excited watching a guy dominate in 3-on-3. Then all of a sudden you put him on the ice in a standard 5-on-5 situation. He's not nearly as impressive. So I didn't have a problem with it. And I like the reasoning. Let them get to know each other. Let them get to know the organization, get to know the staff, and get around the city. And create a little more of a bond that way. So we'll see if the Blues continue doing it this way moving forward. I would imagine, with this being the first development camp for Alexander Steen, that he had a lot of say in this, obviously, and I would imagine he's going to want to keep it this way moving forward. Do you remember when Andy Murray was the head coach and Patrick Berglund came in and he flew all night long and they had a terrible travel day, essentially went straight to the rink, and Andy Murray's just in his face on the ice during prospect camp, just screaming at him? It's like, pump the brakes a little bit, I mean, it's not main camp. I did like the message from Ryan Johnson prior to the Vancouver Canucks starting their development camp and saying, hey, no one's being evaluated here. You're just out there to do your thing. So you make a mistake, hey, embrace the mistake, keep your head up, and then try to correct it. So anyway, that's where we're at. All right. So free agency. Ross Johnston comes. I remember watching him last year in Anaheim a couple of times down the stretch during the season and saying something to Jamie Rivers, like, wow, this guy's going to be a free agent. The Blues need a guy like him. He's got size, he's got imposing size. And I remember him fighting Tyler Tucker. But it's not just the fighting. Like, he can play a little bit too. He's a veteran guy. He's going to get the attention of other players. He knows he's going to be here for a while. They give him a 3-year deal. Is that a year too long? I don't know. It's free agency. Chances are he had other options, and the Blues had to give him an extra year to get him here to St. Louis. So it is what it is. And you just expect him to come in here and do his job. He's doing a job here for the Blues that they really haven't had for quite some time. I know they tried to put maybe, I don't even want to say they put Tyler Tucker in that role because that was never really his role. It's an element that he can bring to the table, but it really wasn't his role to go out there and protect his teammates. It wasn't the role of Braden Shem, but he was certainly willing to do it and had the ability to do it when the time was necessary to protect his teammates or step up or give the team energy. You see Neighbors, maybe he'll fight occasionally. I like to see Neighbors actually do it a little bit more. But again, I know the game has changed a little bit. This guy's going to give a presence that I think they've been lacking a little bit. So I'm looking forward to having Ross Johnston here in St. Louis. Hopefully we get him on sometime soon. And obviously the big one was Mason McTavish, and everyone remembers his performance at the World Juniors a few years back and the hype that he entered the NHL with. I was shocked to see him have the year that he had this year, and the fact that he really wasn't a Joe Quenneville type player. I mean, the guy was a healthy scratch in the playoffs, and you just wonder what that was all about. I haven't reached out to Joel really to kind of get his take, but I will. Um, but McTavish, listen, he's got several years left on his deal. He's making $7 million a year. They are bringing him here to be a impact player right away. He's got to help this team and be the player that people had envisioned him to be when he first came into the league, and that made him a 3rd overall pick. So the idea that he can just come in here and just kind of be a role player and just be no, they're paying him now. They inherit the contract. They needed him. They need a player, and they needed depth up the middle to help this team today. And they're going to need Mason McTavish to be a good player this season and produce offense. Like not producing offense is really not an option for Mason McTavish. So I'll be curious to see how we're looking at this move 2, 3, 4 years down the road. I think on the surface right now, I think it was a necessary move. It was a gamble worth taking, if you want to even call it a gamble. The only reason I call it a gamble is because he had a down year. He didn't produce. But you could say the same thing about Washington, but it's a little bit of a different story for Jordan Kyrou. His resume kind of speaks for itself, having 30-plus goals multiple times throughout the course of his career, including 3 consecutive seasons. So you kind of know what you're getting with Jordan Kyrou. Plus, Kyrou had a ton of chances last year. He just couldn't finish. For whatever reason, he just couldn't put the puck in the net. But he got a lot of chances, and you hear about the analytic community raving about different things that he brings to the table. McTavish is a skilled guy. He can make plays. I have heard from some people saying that he's maybe a little bit too big, in terms of how his body is built. Maybe he needs to lean out a little bit, and maybe that would help him, get a little bit quicker. He doesn't play with a ton of pace, which we all know how important that is in today's game. But I think you can get away with it if you're really intelligent. And I think he brings a high level of hockey IQ and hockey sense. And therefore, I'm looking forward to seeing how he fits in. They've made a significant commitment to Mason McTavish. They need this guy to perform and for this trade to work out. When you trade 2 first-round picks and you look at who Anaheim took with the 15th overall pick, getting that Russian, and there were good players on the board. So they're banking on this guy, McTavish, coming into St. Louis and being good immediately and being good for a long time. He's just 23 years of age. So time is on his side, but the Blues will certainly need Mason McTavish. I'm looking forward to seeing how that looks. Um, Alexander Steen had his press conference, and it was kind of anticlimactic from the standpoint that it wasn't really a big announcement. The announcement was made 2 years ago. Everyone knew Steiner was going to be the next general manager, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he does. I really am, and there's no reason to assume that he's not going to have a lot of success. He certainly knows the game. He's passionate. He loves the game. I will say this about Alexander Steven. This is coming from other people too. The one thing that Doug Armstrong brought to the table was his work ethic. He never got outworked. He's always working. And I think Alexander Steen is going to bring that same level of commitment to the position and to the job and to the organization. This guy will work his ass off, and he's going to have to, and he will. And so, um, I'm looking forward to seeing how this evolves, how his relationship with the media evolves, how his relationship with the players evolve, and listen, all of this is going to come together in due time. It may take a little bit of time. It's not easy when you're a player for a long time and you're kind of thrusted into this position in a very short time. Um, just in terms of how to handle yourself in certain situations, specifically in press conferences and media. Listen, he's dealt with the media pretty much his entire adult life. He's played in major markets. He got a lot of attention here in St. Louis as well, outside of being in Toronto the first several years of his NHL career. So he's seen that. But I'll be curious to see how everything comes together for Alexander Steen as a general manager. Because the pieces are there. He's inheriting a great situation when you look at the prospects the Blues have and what he has to work with. It's a similar situation to what Doug Armstrong walked into in 2008. The foundation was there. He just had to add to it, keep it together, and maybe fill some missing holes with the right ingredients in an effort to build a championship team, which is what he did. So, um, that was all good to see. So anyway, um, still looking at my text on my phone. You never know what's going to come in nowadays. So it's good to see. So Alexander Steen, congratulations. We'll get him on here. I'm looking forward to having a real candid conversation with him and many of them throughout the years here on Hockey Sense with Alexander Steen. Big shout out to Keith Kachuk, who gets the promotion. I think it's a promotion, right? He's now assistant to the president. That sounds like a promotion. We talked about Elliot Mondu, now is assistant to the general manager. So some shuffling around. Robert Bortuzzo was doing some part-time scouting last year. Now he's a full-time scout. So you'll see more and more recognizable names and different people come into the organization as we move forward under Alexander Steen and who he wants to build his team around and who he wants around him. He and Bortuzzo are very, very tight. And it's no surprise that Bortuzzo is a part of the plan here moving forward from the get-go. And Paul Stastny's a guy that will get involved at some point. Paul was at the press conference. He and Steen, very, very close friends as well. So again, we're starting to see how things are going to round out. But I think believe in Alexander Steen. He's going to do a good job. Dylan Dubé, I know it got a lot of attention. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you, and listen, I don't want to get involved with anything politically or get people going crazy. I don't know, understand quite the level of negative reaction. You got Carter Hart already playing in the National Hockey League, helping Vegas get to the Stanley Cup final. So we've seen other players already be in the league. And listen, they went through the process legally and they were found not guilty. Um, so you always got to keep that in mind when you're trying to throw labels and insults and all of that. I think this was the plan for Dylan Dubé. They gave him an opportunity and he ran with it. This guy was a very productive player for Steve Ott down in the American League, and he's going to have a chance to make the roster. They got a lot of bodies right now, just a lot of bodies. We'll see what it looks like when it's all said and done. I don't see a Carbonneau making the team right off the bat. I think he certainly could, but just based on the options the Blues have, I think it's in his best interest to go down to the American League and play a little bit. Stenberg may start down in the American League to start the season. You just never know how that's going to play out. And now you have a lot of defensemen. You have Brandon Carlo here. Carlo's not the most physical defenseman, but he can kill penalties, bring some experience, and most importantly, he is significant insurance for Urasek, who we're going to get into with Jay McKee, who was his coach in junior. We'll talk to Jay coming up very, very soon about all of that. Carlo, 1 year left on his deal. If Yurzek's playing well, you've got Fowler also probably on that third pair. You got Tyler Tucker that's here too. I don't know what this is going to look like. Who's going to be here, who's not going to be here. But if Yurzek shows that he can handle it and he can play minutes and he can help this team, Carlo may have a hard time cracking the lineup. Although you've got Lindstein in there, he may outplay Lindstein. Who knows if Lindstein's going to be able to hang on to a job right off the bat and into the season. And it's going to be different for him this year than it was for him last season, where he came in the middle of the year. It was after the Olympics and not a whole lot of pressure on Lindstein. There's always pressure, but you know what I mean? Not a whole lot of team pressure. Playing with house money at that stage of the season, but he took off and ran with it. I have nothing negative to say about Theo Lindstein. In fact, it's the exact opposite. I'm excited to see what he looks like coming into this year. But then you have Broberg and Mayu too. And Carlo gives you some experience. Before we take a break and then bring in Jay McKee, people are all wondering about what's going to happen, with the C. Who's going to wear the C? And we had Robert Thomas on last week. It sounds like the Blues are going to start the season and go through the season without anyone wearing a C on their sweater. And they'll have, several players wearing the A. Maybe you have some players wearing the A at home, some wearing the A on the road, maybe 3 guys who have it at all times. Between Thomas, Parayko, and Neighbors, I think that's where you start with your leadership core. But we'll just have to wait and see how that plays out. But they got a lot of options now. Centers playing wing. You got P. Suter, who may play the wing. Connor McMichael might end up playing the wing. I think McTavish has to play center. I think he's a more productive player in the middle than he is on the wing. I think on the wing is too much stopping and starting in the defensive zone. I feel like he can swoop a little bit in the D zone as a center, keep his feet moving, and therefore he's able to generate a little more speed coming up ice and be a part of the attack coming up ice versus trailing the play, which can happen sometimes when you're playing on the wing. But we'll get into Manny Malhotra's son. We'll get into Adam Yurzek, a lot of different things with Jay McKee, who is now the head coach of the American League team in Hamilton with the New York Islanders and, of course, a former St. Louis Blue. And I'm looking forward to our conversation coming up with Jay. I've been trying to get him on for quite a while. And we'll talk to Jamal Mayers later on in the show as well. I mean, Connor Bedard goes down with an injury yesterday in a training session. I mean, those are the worst ones. And there was nobody around him. He just had a crazy-looking fall and goes right into the wall. Whenever you fall like that and go into the wall, and you get up and you're holding your jersey, you're in obvious pain, you're screaming out loud. You can hear him yelling. That does not look good for a guy who's looking to sign a contract extension. And who the Chicago Blackhawks are banking on big time. I would imagine that Bowen Byram is pretty happy right now, the fact that he just signed a 6-year contract extension at 12.5, but one of the big reasons why he came here was because of Connor Bedard. So if Bedard's not available to start the season, who knows how long he could be out. Hopefully it's not serious. We're thinking about Connor Bedard. All right. First Community brings us Hockey Sense. Again, sign your son or daughter up for Little Blues. Check out all the different options they have for your banking needs. Firstcommunity.com. Mako and Kirkwood. We love talking about Mako. I took my wife's car there, and they've been around forever. Mako and Kirkwood. And they are they've got stores all over, but go see the one in Kirkwood. They focus on drivable collisions. So if your car has some dents, you get in an accident, but you can still drive it, bring it on in. And they do that so they can get cars in and out quickly. So you're not dropping your car off and then stuck without a car for 2 weeks. You don't want that. So they specialize in the cosmetic collision repair and auto painting. They can repair any collision, like I said, but they want to focus on the drivable hits. So keep that in mind. Great working relationships with all the insurance providers, the fleet management companies. They'll give you that free written estimate. You can schedule it on the phone, online, or just stop by Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. And they offer the best price guarantee. I love that. Better get Mako. I love it. And St. Louis Lawn Care. I love these guys. They were out there in the heat the other day. And I'm watching these guys work, man, at STL Lawn Care. It is amazing how hard they work. I mean, it has been so hot, man. It is. I don't want to say I feel bad because it's their job, but at the same time, I give them a lot of credit for how hard they work. My yard looks like Petco Park right now. It's so nice outside, and it's thanks to our friends over with St. Louis Lawn Care. They do more than just cutting grass, by the way. But it was so hot, I took them outside, some First Form energy drinks, some First Form protein shakes, the pre-made shakes, and they earned that. They certainly deserve it. Great lawn mowing. The fertilizer program is fantastic. Sod installation if you need sod. Snow removal. So keep their phone number handy and stlawncare.com. Just go to the website for when we have the winter snowstorm coming. They'll come and shovel all the snow out of your way. They do mulching, aeration. They do the overseeding as well. It's a key piece to achieving that beautiful lawn. You got to have it. Leaf removal. No one wants to do that. And my favorite thing, the mosquito spray. You want to go outside, enjoy yourself in the backyard during the summer in St. Louis. It's hard to do unless you have that mosquito and bug control. You can get it with STL Lawn Care. Again, stlawncare.com. No bugs in your backyard. You don't want that. All right. This is First Community Hockey Sense, live from Half Coast Studios. Aiden's in the house. We'll take a break. It's 4th of July weekend, baby. And Jay McKee, Cheese, he's next here on Hockey Sense, brought to you by First Community. Don't go anywhere. All right, Jay McKee's back with us. And great to have Jay. Listen, he's a rising star in coaching. And, I always wonder, like, I saw him and Danny Highnote hanging out a lot back in the day, and
Yeah.
always, enjoying themselves away from the rink, super professional at the rink, and always ready to go. And now Danny's coaching, not a head coach, but he's on an NHL bench as an assistant, and you're doing your thing as a head coach now in the American League. Did you guys discuss this back in the day? Is this something that you always thought you'd get into, Jay?
In all honesty, it wasn't until I was in St. Louis that I started to think about it. I had my first year there, I had a major pelvic injury that prevented me from training basically my lower half and abdominal area for 2 summers. So, I had felt myself slowing down due to that. And I remember asking Rick Walmsley and Brad Shaw how they got into coaching and if they enjoyed it, the aspects of what they liked about it. So it wasn't until after that major injury I had my first year there that I started thinking about, hey, what am I going to do post hockey? You mentioned Dan Highnote. I mean, Dan Highnote was the ultimate teammate, ultimate team guy. I think guys that get into coaching, there's an aspect to that. You find very few coaches that guys wouldn't say were great teammates. I think there's something to being the kind of person that likes being around people, that's personable, that enjoys the finer details of the game. And Danny and I didn't talk about it post career, but there's no surprise to me that he's having success and been on a few different benches, and now with John Cooper in Tampa. So Danny's a fantastic human being, one of the best, and it's fun to see him have the success that he's having in the sport.
Yeah, so I know how you were as a player, and very good defenseman. Obviously, blocked a ton of shots. Always willing to put your body on the line. What kind of coach are you? How do you coach, and what kind of hockey do you like your players to play?
Well, without the puck, very hardworking, structured, and detailed. With the puck, creative offensively. When you have the puck, yes, in the O zone, there needs to be a foundation of structure to what you're doing. You're not just playing shinny hockey, but I try to allow some creativity within that structure. You don't want these guys to be robots. You need to. I think as a coach, I'm a guy that our teams are very well prepared. So on the bench, my demeanor is pretty calm. You're not going to see me screaming and yelling all game. I'm more of a teacher, a guy that builds confidence in guys. Through we do a ton of video, probably more than most, but a lot is based on ourselves. For teaching the game, and that's a part of junior hockey. Obviously, when you get to the pro level and even the NHL level. These guys are understand the game a little bit more than when you get players out of minor hockey and into junior for a few years. But I still think that the Ontario Hockey League, for myself and the coaches in it, it's a fantastic league for not just player development, but coaches that are developing and learning. I feel you have to go through a lot of different scenarios to grow as a coach. You have to have your successes, but you have to go through a lot of challenging situations and dig into to find solutions. And when you do, it prepares you for those future situations that are similar. You can get yourselves out of the rut or find those solutions quicker. So I'm a player's coach, but very detailed. We get our guys working real hard. I know it sounds cliche, but that's the only way to have success is by outworking the guys around you.
All right, and you've coached a lot of great players. I mean, listen, even going back to Connor McDavid coaching in Erie, and I mean, and that team was just loaded. I went back and looked at that roster today. I lost count of how many guys are playing in the you know.
It was an incredible
And
roster.
Darren Radish was on that team. I mean, he's getting paid now. Like, were you surprised it
Yeah.
took him this long to establish himself as a for what he is? I mean, a point producer. He produced a lot of offense when he was on your team that you were helping coach.
Well, Remy was undrafted, right? So when you're undrafted, you really have to grind your way through and make the best of the opportunities you're given. I'm proud of him. Man. He's come a long ways. Obviously he's peaking in his game. He had his brother on the team, Taylor Radish, who was the first rounder back then, and Darren was kind of in the shadow of that, and he's just. I'm not surprised because of the way he's always carried himself, the work ethic that he's had. He's always been very determined. So, and he's a fantastic person. So I'm happy for him to see the success that he's having, and obviously he signed a great contract, one that'll set himself up and his family for life, and very happy for him for that.
Yeah, I know. It's a great story. Well, what do you tell stories about Connor, about your experiences coaching Connor? Like, do you share stories with the players you're coaching about him? And if you do, like, what's something that you would bring up when trying to refer to or reference a guy like Connor McDavid when he was the same age as the kids you were coaching the last couple years?
Right. Truthfully, as coaches, we just stood around in awe and watched and practiced. I mean, it was amazing what he could do. I had never seen a player move with his speed. With Connor, everything's elite. The quickness of the hands, the quickness of the feet, the agility, the way he processes the game. So there were times we caught ourselves just watching him in practice. But truthfully, I try not to bring up guys of the past with our players. I think the one thing that really stood out that I have mentioned a couple times though is he never took anything off in practice. I mean, literally every drill was like it was a game seven in the finals. You know what I mean? He everything was full tempo, full speed. There was a determination in practice for him that he took the games. It looked like he was playing a game every practice day. So I think that's a real key attribute. Even I played with Crosby, and there's a lot of similarities between those two in the way they prepare themselves, the way they train, the way when they're at the rink, the focus is on. It's not, there's no looseness, there's no, I'm just going to get through this rep or this practice today. It's full on, and it's a special attribute to have.
Mm. And that's I'm not surprised to hear that too. I mean, all these elite superstars, I mean, generational players, I mean, they all have great practice habits. They just work hard all the time and seem to always do everything the right way. What was this process like for you this off season? Because your name was out there, and I'm sure there was a lot of attention, and you had some decisions to make. How important was it for you to advance yourself, get to the next level, and to remain as a head coach versus maybe taking an assistant coaching job at the NHL level?
Yeah, I know I've put 11 years into the Ontario Hockey League, and a part of that, I have some family based out of Buffalo, and kids in school. My daughters are off to college, and I've had the mindset. I kind of flipped it. That when I first got into coaching, I wanted to coach at the highest level possible, as quick as possible. And that's kind of the player's mindset. When you're a player, you want to achieve that top level as quick and as fast as you can, and that's how you value success for yourself. And you know, I flipped that mindset when I actually it was Bradshaw that had called me. It might have been 8 or 9 years ago now, asking if I'd be interested in a certain opportunity in the NHL. And when I thought about it, if I had taken that job, I put the a half hour into thinking about it. It would have taken me my kids being based out of Buffalo. That would have taken me to the other side of the country, um, and really wouldn't see my kids for during the season. So I flipped my mindset to I'm gonna try to remain within 2 hours or hour and a half of where my kids are based out of, until my first son got to high school, which is he's going to high school next year. So that was this was the time for me to move on to pro, and gratefully that gave me the opportunity to spend that decade in the Ontario Hockey League and learn, grow, go through, win a championship, go through that experience, go through being let go with an organization. So you go through all the highs and lows and experiences. And so the time was right for me now. And fortunately, there were some opportunities, and I went through a number of different interviews. Enjoyed the interview process. There's, when you're talking hockey and systems and philosophies and all that stuff, it's a natural thing to talk about. And I enjoyed the different ways that different teams approached their interviews. Met a lot of good people, and then ultimately came to the decision to work with the Islanders organization in Hamilton. With them moving there this year, kind of worked out pretty good. Still kept me close to the Buffalo area, but the organization's fantastic. And a big part of the decision for me is, as a coach moving on to pro, to have the opportunity to pick the brain of and get to know and learn from someone like Pete DeBoer, is an incredible opportunity for me. Obviously, he's been through a lot of those scenarios and situations. Just an incredible coach, incredible human being, and certainly a great guy for myself to have the opportunity to learn from.
Yeah. Love talking hockey with Pete DeBoer. Cam and I just had him on a few weeks ago too. He's
Yeah.
just so much experience. So that'll be a great situation for you. Plus, the Islanders, man, they've got a lot of prospects. They're deep in terms of their prospects, so you're going to be able to work with some really good players. Hey, before we get into that, though, I got a question for you though, just in terms of how you've seen the landscape change in the OHL, with now kids able to go there and still keep their NCAA eligibility. Like, how has it changed the most? Has it changed from a recruiting standpoint? I mean, the U.S. program's losing kids now, which would never have
Yeah.
happened a few years ago, but now they can go to the OHL. Like, are the facilities and the resources in the OHL, and I mean, where are they? Like, in terms of how these kids are treated and what they have available to them in terms of their development.
Well, the resources are actually fantastic. When you look at the facilities, sure, some don't stack up to the Big Ten teams. The facilities are incredible, but you're seeing the Sudbury Wolves now are building a $200 million arena. The Brantford Bulldogs are building a $200 million arena, and these are going to be, the Big Ten, similar to those arenas and facilities. They're going to put a lot of resources into, not just the arena, the footprint of the building, but the player facilities, the gym, the lounges, everything that you see at even the pro level. In Brantford, we're feeding our guys after practices every day, just like they wouldn't in pro. With the Gary Roberts meal menu. So everything's it's very good. The landscape is certainly changing. There's a lot more movement, a lot more moving parts. You're seeing some of the top players, Caleb Maholtra, for example, who we had this year in Brantford, will be going to school next year. So sometimes you're going to lose, your top Ethan Belchet's first overall pick a couple of years ago, played basically a year and a half because he was injured this year. He's moving on to college. Porter Martone. So you're going to lose some of your top players, but that's being returned by some players that wouldn't have come. So I think the league's going to get a little bit younger. There are some overage players, 20-year-olds that are going to go on to college now when they would probably play their overage season. So, it's a cyclical league. It's going to be a lot of changes probably quicker than in the past. We would normally have players up to 4 years. Now you might get them for 2, but you're going to filter in new guys. So a lot of moving parts. I think it's going to take probably 3, 4 years for GMs to really get set in how best to build teams and how quick or how long it takes to build championship teams.
Porter Martone. I mean, this guy just walks into the Flyers. He just
He was incredible.
love watching him play. Like, were you surprised that he
Yeah.
adjusted as quick as he did? Like, you couldn't have expected that. I'm not. Maybe it didn't surprise you, but I mean, to see him, not many guys do that. In a market like
No,
that too.
we had the OHL top prospects team. I had him on my team. He's very energetic. He was strong. Like, he's built too. He's a young man. He's not a kid. So he's physically ready for the AHL. I don't know if anyone expected him to come in and make the impact he did. A lot of guys feel out the league early on, but I mean, he stepped in and made an impact. So knowing the young man, I was happy for him. He's got that really good energy to him. He's always smiling. He's engaging. And those are the kinds of people you want to see have success. So I was happy for him.
All right, so let's talk about some of your guys. I want to start with Maholtra because you just brought him up, and
Yeah.
third overall pick. He's going to play for his dad.
Mhm.
How do you look at that? Is that a? I was a little bit surprised. I thought maybe they would want to stay away from that, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. His dad obviously has a lot of knowledge, and the kid's a really good player, so they'll have to find a way to make it work, and it
Yeah.
shouldn't be too unusual, right?
Well, it's unique.
Yeah.
But you know what? In getting to know Caleb, this kid is first class off the ice. He's the family, full of integrity. Getting to know Manny a little bit. There's going to be no favoritism there. He's going to play. I mean, Caleb's a special player to begin with, but knowing the integrity within the family, how they carry themselves, um, you know, I didn't know if they would draft him or not. It is a unique scenario. I think what's more unique about it is if you look at the shelf life right now of NHL head coaches, there's a lot of turnover. I think the only time they would get into an issue is, if 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road you're trading your firing your player's father. That would be, you'd think that would be an issue, but again, it's going to go back to the integrity. I think if there's any player I've ever coached in the past 11 years, 12 years, Caleb's the kind of guy that just the way he is, he's not going to let that affect him because I believe he's going to be an NHL captain at some point. He's not just a special player, he's a special human. So, and Ryan Johnson, RJ might have, he may understand that as well. I'm sure that's something they thought about in the future. Hey, what if this happens? Because typically it does happen at some point. But just knowing Manny like he does in the family, I think they know that that's the type of family that could accept that scenario, given the sport.
Yeah. I just and listen, you said that, not me, about the coach's shelf life. I didn't want to say that, because
It just is what it
was
is,
it
right?
turnover is
Yeah.
so fast. I mean, he's got to
Wild.
be playing for his dad his entire career. You can probably be safe to say that. But I just hope it doesn't make it uncomfortable for his teammates too, because you guys are all hanging out at the bar, you're having dinner together, and everyone wants to be able to vent and be able to be open and talk with one
Yeah.
another. So that's but listen, they know what they're getting into, and like you said, he's a great player. How good is he though, Jay? Like,
No, he's special. He's a jack of all trades. He's one of those guys that's not, he's a great shooter. He's not elite in one thing or two things. He's really, really good at everything he does. He brings that physicality, not afraid to drop the gloves to spark the team. He's got a great shot. He's got great vision, great deception, great passing. He's very responsible defensively. He's a PP guy, a PK guy. He does everything really, really well. So he's just kind of the complete package of a player. And again, um, the character that this kid brings, I know. Well, that actually might be an interesting one. Naming your son Captain, right? But to me, even prior to Vancouver drafting him, I told every scout that asked about him, he's going to be an NHL captain one day. Yeah, he's just a quality, high character human being.
hmm. All right, so Blues fans want to know about Adam Yurasek and watching this guy evolve year after year, seeing him play in the World Junior Championships. He's had some injuries, so when he's been in St. Louis, he hasn't really played a ton because he's been rehabbing injury. But last year in training camp, he really took off, and you can
Yeah.
see how special of a player he is. I mean, it's proven to be an amazing draft pick when you consider he was injured at the time, and the Blues got him where they got him. If he was healthy, probably goes a lot earlier in the draft. How good is he? I mean, is there a Petro comparison that you see coaching him?
Yeah, yes. I think a little bit different though. Yuri has the dynamicness. I haven't had a defenseman in my time in the Ontario Hockey League that has his level. The way he's so dynamic on the ice. He is the fast twitch muscle groups where you think he's going to do one thing and out of the gate he's going the other way. Deception to his hands, vision. He is an offensive powerhouse. That said, he's very strong defensively as well. So, if you were to classify him, I'd say the offensive defenseman with very strong defensive capabilities. When he gets down low in the corners, again, the fact he closes quick, he's got a quick stick, brings the physicality. He likes to step up on guys, lay some big hits. So he's got the overall game. But he can just do things that a lot of defense can't do with his explosiveness with the puck, his quickness with his hands. He's a special player that's going to play for a long time.
Great passer. I mean, what area did you see him get better at this year, Jay? Was there an area that he needed to really improve that you really saw some significant growth?
Yeah, I think, and you mentioned the injuries, he had a really strong, really good summer, came back strong, came back confident. If I was to say there's the one area to improve, offensive minded defensemen are always thinking offense, especially from the defensive zone. So there's just maybe sometimes, I mean, when he gets down in the corners, he's a really strong defender. There's just sometimes with most offensive defensemen, they're thinking of going when they should be a little more cautious. And uh, when they're puck watching, they're thinking, I'm ready to jump. When they're not thinking of, oh, well, what if we lose that 50-50 battle and it ends up to the guy down low a little bit below me? So just processing the game, he's very good at. It's just maybe really pulling back a touch on the always offensive mindset. But I mean, just time. He's going to develop with more time. I think he'll probably be a guy that with another strong training camp and preseason, going to get some NHL games, and then it's going to be up to him. He's going to get an opportunity, and then that's what the sport is about. When you get your opportunity, you take a hold of it and you run with it. So it'll come down to him in those moments, and but the future is certainly very bright for him.
Yeah, they've got him penciled in. There's no question. I mean, he'd have to play his way
Yeah,
off the team in training camp versus probably play his way onto the team. I think
yeah,
he's got a spot here. Well, what will be the biggest
good.
adjustments for him? You think heading into the NHL? What's something that he's going to really have to, just like any other young defenseman, even the highly touted ones that he's going to have to adjust to.
Well, I don't know if it's necessarily an adjustment, but it's just for him the preparation. Obviously, when you make the jump to the NHL, the guys are bigger, faster, stronger. When you are a defenseman who handles the puck, wants to skate with the puck and make plays with the puck, the adjustment or the preparation would be the movement will just have to be a little bit quicker. And for a lot of defensemen, when they start in the NHL that I've had in the past, what I try to give them heading there is just move pucks quick early and then get used to the timing of how quick guys are going to be on you. If they're trying to do too much day one and they're getting stripped and chances or goals against and scrimmages or in games, the confidence is going to drop quick. And confidence is so important in this game. I think guys, if they can move pucks quick until they feel the speed of the game, then they let their natural game take over. So they can keep it hold and build their confidence, and then that natural game takes over.
All right, I'm looking forward to seeing how he does. And again, great person for him to learn from. And you were a first round pick. I want to say you played your first NHL game at what 18, 19, right? I don't think you.
Yeah, I was fortunate to get the first one at 18. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, in Buffalo. Yeah.
There you go.
No, and Yuri, I know you've spoken with him and you know him, but he's got a great personality too. He's engaging. He's a great sense of humor and work ethic. So he's a guy that uh, over the years I bonded with really well. I'm excited to watch his progress as he moves on. He's a fantastic kid,
Yeah, and he's healthy, which is the most important thing.
which was huge for him. Yeah, mentally too. Yeah.
I remember when you had that pelvic injury, man. It just there was so much excitement when you got here, and when you're hurt, man, it's tough, right? And people don't even
Yeah,
know what you're
when
going
I
through.
got to St. I was so excited to get to St. Louis, and I think it was my first game. Derek Bugard took out my knee, so I had the MCL injury right off the get go, and now you're set back 6 weeks when guys are starting, and a couple games in, Roy Fitzpatrick hit my finger with a shot, and I've been playing for 10 years at that point, never broke a finger or a foot, and broke a finger, and then maybe 20 years back from that, Dustin Brown and I collided, and his knee came up into my pelvic structure and opened up basically the whole pelvic structure. So that was the worst injury I had my whole career, and that one uh, basically ended my career. You know what I mean? When you look at it, I played 3 more years, but when you can't train your legs for a couple summers or abdominal area, it's such an important aspect to being a pro hockey player. That was a career ender for me. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, two things stand out from your time here. Well, there's
Unfortunately.
a number of things that stand out from your time here in St. Louis, but one, the hit on Mark Parrish was just that you just destroyed.
Oh yeah,
You
that
stepped.
was a good
You
one.
remember that, right? And then
Oh yeah, yeah.
you're the 18 wheeler that you drove without the trailer, though. I mean,
Yeah.
you tell people about that. Like, I can't
No,
believe you
no, no.
drove
It's
that.
it's like I mean that was probably almost 20 years ago. I like to think I've matured since then. You look back at yourself 20 years ago. I yeah, I was Mike Rupp had a big truck, and I was looking for like a Ford 650. I like big trucks, and then I just happened to come across that thing. I'm like, why not? I had it for a couple of years, and but it's almost embarrassing now. Like you look back at yourself and as a kid, but no. So I don't tell that story too much, but it does come up. Dan Bowles, we did the shootouts after practice, right? And every so often, whoever loses, there'd be a fun punishment. And Dan got into the shootout, and he lost that day, and the loser had to wash that truck. So it was like 2 weeks later, I came in with a bucket and I had a toothbrush in there and some soap, dropped it on his desk, and him and his son went out and washed the old big rig.
I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. I remember I did a radio show in Dogtown, which is like this little neighborhood in the city in St. Louis, and you came there and you rolled in with this truck. I'm like, where are you
Oh
gonna
yeah.
park
Yeah.
this thing? There's like nowhere to park it, but you found a spot. Last thing for you,
Yeah.
have you talked to Kayshawn Aitchison yet? Like, have you known him? I mean, I saw the press conference. Cam and I were very hard on the coach, by the way. Just I mean, when he made the comments, it was like because you just never know
Yeah.
who you're going to end up being on the same team with, playing for, playing with. Like, it was one of the dumbest things ever. What was your reaction to that? Because you guys had just lost, and will you joke around with Aitchison about that if you haven't already, or you just never bring that up?
Well, I actually just got back from dev camp last night. I was out there for about a week and had a lot of time with him on the ice. I had him. My first interaction with Kayshawn was at the OHL Top Prospects game, which we hosted, and had him on our team. And he's one of those guys that has a very energetic personality. He's always smiling. He's got a great energy to him. Um, on the ice, he has a swagger, a physicality. He's a skilled player with a big shot. He's kind of got it all. Coaching against him, he's a very frustrating player to coach against because he has that swagger and
Mm.
gets under the skin of your players. And he knows how to press buttons and get guys off their game. So he's a frustrating player to coach against, but he's just one of those guys you love having on your team because of that energy he brings. He's a great teammate and all the stuff that you want out of a player. Now, I didn't address that scenario, that quick interview, but obviously it was, you know, uh, Dylan had made a decision for whatever that they were going to go that route. I give Dylan a lot of credit too for owning up and apologizing. He's a young coach. It's his first year as a head coach, and probably in the moment at the time, they were feeling real good and maybe thought it would be funny when it came off. It certainly didn't come off very funny. So, hey, we live, we learn. And I do give them a lot of credit for, quickly owning up to it and apologizing and admitting it was, they made a mistake.
Yeah. All right. Well said. All right.
It was ugly in time. Yeah.
It was. All right, come on. But anyway, hey,
We're
congrats.
human though. We're all human. We make mistakes.
I know, and he owned up to it. Hey, congrats on a great run though in the OHL. I'm looking forward to moving on to the professional level, and I know we'll see you in the NHL before too long as well. So all the best
Appreciate it.
in Hamilton, and keep doing your thing, Jay. Man, it's been great to watch you continue to rise as a coach. So looking forward to watching you this season as well.
No, I appreciate it. It's great hearing your voice again, seeing you.
Okay, buddy. All the best, man.
Okay. Thanks, Rick.
Yep. Take care. Happy 4th of July, Jim.
Yes. You know what? You forgot to text me on Canada Day, but I'll let it pass.
I know I forgot. To
You're
do that.
probably busy.
I didn't. I
Happy
wasn't
4th.
that busy this year. Can I just vent a little bit? Like, it's not even venting, but like I've heard from some other people around the league as well. It's like free agency. First of all, nothing really excited me going into July 1 this year. It was just kind of like a lot of names and whatever. And I just didn't spend like my whole adult life. I've just calling this guy, calling that guy, texting who. I didn't really do that at all this year. I just didn't really. I just want to sit back, and I feel like a lot of these insiders who do a really good job have a direct pipeline to the league
Yes.
and to Central Registry,
Yes.
and that's why they're all reporting the same thing at the same time. It's like within 30 seconds they're all saying the same thing. So that's why, and so it is what it is. That's what it's come to. Like, I think there was like, not to say that a lot of them aren't really good journalists, because there's a few that are very good. They have other, they do a great job reporting on other stuff as well. But the days of just being the hardest working journalist and establishing contacts and having those contacts really come to your benefit probably doesn't work as much as it used to, just because the relationship that these rights holders have negotiated in their deals. I think they're just getting this information. You see it with other sports too, and football and basketball as well. It's not like these guys are talking to every agent and every
Oh,
player. I mean, there's no way they could possibly do that. So hope you understand what I'm saying. I just want
100%. Let's put it this way. There's some that are showing half their face on a screen saying this just in. Meanwhile, we all know in the hockey world that was fed to them by the NHL.
yes.
And it's part of the machine that makes it exciting and work. And they've identified this is the person we want to give this information to. And I agree. There are the originals, I will call them, that are actually creating relationships, that are calling GMs, that have inside information from those relationships over time.
Yeah.
I think there's now a new generation that are being, two people specifically that I know for sure are being fed by the league. So it's not the way it used to be.
And I heard from a prominent insider. I mean, one of them, and venting about this he's just like, we can't compete with it when the league and Central Registry is just, they got a direct pipeline to it. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
So once I got that call, I was like, I'm just going to sit back and I'm not going to waste my entire day trying to be first on certain things anymore. It is what it is. But anyway,
Two.
well, those are 200%.
Those are the two that are getting it.
1,000%.
Okay.
But there's others too.
Okay.
But just so you know, but you're 100% right on those two. All right. So Dylan Larkin, do you like how Yzerman's playing this?
I feel like he's taking the bullets for the rest of the league, if I'm being honest. And what I mean by that is he's taken a more stern approach. Having been a player, I'm sure he can't get that out of his system, in the sense that his generation, Draper's generation, even my generation for that matter, would never conceive of doing this with term remaining on your deal. And I'll run through this.
What do you mean? You would never ask the team?
You would never put them in that position publicly the way that it is happening today. And I think that
The star players in your era, they just didn't do that.
they did it, but they did it
A little quiet.
quietly.
Like when Kachuk got traded from Phoenix to St.
It was
Louis,
quiet.
it was quieter. Yeah.
Okay, it's just a different world. So there's a couple things I want to get through quickly.
And usually it's
about this.
because those teams can't afford to pay those players anymore, and that's why they got moved.
Right, but there's also a couple of synergies that are happening, and the timing is only now. This won't continue to happen. I think it happens now because the cap is going up, and players realize this is my window where other teams, more teams, have the flexibility because of the cap rising to take on more salary, and now I could fit in other places now. It's not going to be like that once these dollars get spent and teams re-up their guys, and then the money starts to shrink again because there's less money available. There's a window now to do this, in my opinion. That's why you're seeing these players do this now. I think what's going to happen is a couple things. I think that the league is going to come back because the league doesn't like it when the players get the upper hand. Because right now the players have the upper hand in that regard.
Because they're coming together. They're like aligning themselves together.
So what's going to happen, I think, is they're going to be
brothers.
an adjustment in the CBA in one respect. And this is what I think kind of closes that door. If you have 2 or more years remaining and you ask for a trade from a team, your no trade does not become a no trade anymore. You have to then give the team a negotiated number of teams. I think that number will be a third. You have to give the team 10 teams. Because think about it. There's guys.
If you have a full no trade or no move and you have 2 or more years left on your contract and now you're asking for a trade, you can't just say, well, I'm going to decide where
I'll go to
these
these 3
this team. Yeah, but a lot of times these guys are putting a list together of like 3 or 4 teams, but they still will only go to one team. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, here's my list of like 2 or 3 teams. I'll use Brady as an example. And I felt like they did a pretty good job of keeping that quiet. Actually.
Yeah, they did.
You know, Brady and Steve Stais. But he gave a list of things, and maybe he would have gone to Vegas, possibly. But his eyes and focus was on Florida from the very beginning.
100%. And they're very smart hockey family. So think about this. Like, if they want to go to Florida, what I would have said was, hey, who are 2 other teams that are up against it? Like, really up against it, that can't fit me? Those are my other 2 teams. Right? That also, but at the end of the day,
risk involved.
But the point I'm making from the original point is that they're gonna make an adjustment, and I think the logical adjustment is you can't change a player's mind that wants to move with term remaining, right? What you can do is say, well, then your no trade does not become a no trade. You have to
better give me more teams
and no more teams.
And and Steve Eisman may say, like he's saying right now, I'm not just gonna like trade you because you want to be traded. It better be the best deal for the Red Wings. Otherwise, plan on being here in training camp.
And then he already knows and believed in him that he's a leader and a good person that cares about the team. Hockey's a little bit different.
Do you take the C off his chest?
I think you start with it still there, and then you see how he handles himself, and he either keeps it or he doesn't. But I wouldn't take it away right away.
You wouldn't.
I welcome him back with open arms.
Too much. You're
creating too much
drama.
Too much. If he's your true leader, which I believe he is, you're creating too much unnecessary friction and polarization within the group for no reason. Welcome him back with open arms, even though behind the scenes you might be a little bit upset with him. Welcome him back. We're happy to have you here. Meanwhile, you're trying to work out a deal for other teams, but you want to keep it copacetic with your group and not disrupt it more than needed.
The Werenski situation, how do you view that? I mean, he rejected a trade to Dallas, which I was a little surprised that he would reject that. But, I think sometimes these guys are like, I want out. And then they get the idea of like what's really available to them out there, who's interested, who can actually pull these deals off. And then he took a little bit of heat, which these guys aren't used to that. They've never taken any criticism either. Although I went back and looked at his performance down the stretch. I mean, Columbus truly laid an egg down the stretch, and he was a big part of it. He did not play well down the stretch. So he has to own some of that too. But I find it interesting how all of a sudden they come together and now he doesn't want to go anywhere, At least for now.
I think he still wants to go.
Yeah.
And I think that the agreement they made is, hey, it's unfortunate this got out.
Let's calm things down.
I'm going to still work. It's going to take some time to get to place you want to go. You're going to have to.
Why does it take time, you think?
I don't know. I don't understand the reasoning for not wanting to go to Dallas, if I'm being honest. You got a no-tax state. You got a team that has a chance to win. You've got a really good and young nucleus.
Great place to live.
And I don't understand that, not wanting to go there. I think it fits everything that a player would want in regard to.
You just wonder if
you're
there was
choosing a
one
place.
or two teams that he wanted to go to and they just couldn't make it happen.
Yeah, I just think it's a little bit strange.
That was strange.
I don't know the reason I don't know him.
Mm.
So
You like what San Jose has done? They bring Darnell Nurse on board. They give a lot of money and term to Jacob Trouba.
Yeah.
That's going to be, I think, one we'll certainly pay attention to. But, they needed help on the back end. I think 4 years to me is not, I mean, listen, it's free agency. And, that's probably how you get him, is by giving him the
Yeah.
4th year.
I think you might regret the 3rd and 4th year, but I think that
But you're not getting him for years 1 and 2,
No.
probably, unless you.
no, you're not. You're not getting him unless you do that 4th year. That's what probably happened. I think Mike Grier did a brilliant job in a couple of respects. The first one was knowing he wanted to take Stenberg, making that trade with Ottawa to make space,
Mhm.
to get that pick, then to realize that there are 3 or 4 really solid defensemen out there that
Just get one of
at
them,
9,
right?
one will land toward you, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
So that was a strategic, really, really
They got a great pick at
smart move.
21 too, right? Jeremy
Yes.
Lin, right?
Yeah, I really like him too. I think you know what? I think about all the smaller defensemen. They all went late in the first round. We were in 4 years. We're all looking back, going, "Wow, why didn't he go a little bit sooner?" It's just human nature, right? We look at these smaller defensemen. Maybe he doesn't skate as well as some of the ones that are having so much success
Yeah.
right now. That could be the reason.
There's just not that many. I mean, listen,
But why not
people
take
look
them
at
higher?
Quinn Hughes and you look at Lane Hudson. These guys are the outliers. I mean, there's
Are they though? That keeps happening. More and more
I
smaller
don't
guys.
see too many that are that size truly having that type of an impact. I look at this Carson Carls. I'm watching this video from him in Calgary. Like, he's the kid who didn't go to the draft because he was on the farm and whatever.
Yeah.
But he's unbelievable to watching how big he is and his ability to shoot the puck and just his footwork. Like, these guys, give me one of those. Yeah, I just think there's less risk. Now, if you have Lane Hudson, he went in the 2nd round, Quinn Hughes didn't go till the 7th overall pick. You think you redo that draft, he's certainly going. I don't remember everyone that went that year, but he's certainly going in the top 5, probably top 3. So I just think if you look at it historically, there's not that many smaller defensemen. The Blues thought they had one maybe in Scotty Perunovich. It's a tough position, Jamal. You know as well as anybody
Oh,
to
absolutely.
play when you're undersized.
It is. It is. I think that to me, there's less risk for the high-end guys that are having success against their peers. I think more and more, I think it's become easier, if I'm being honest. Like, it used to be a pure projection.
Mhm.
Will this player be able to do this at the next level? We're seeing it over and over and over again that they are able to do it at at the next level. They're just so skilled and more prepared than we were 20 years ago. From the nutrition to the fitness to the hockey IQ to the mental preparation to the maturity, all of that there's been more demanded of the younger player, but they've also surprisingly been able to take on more at a younger age.
Mm. Darnell Nurse, what will his role be with San Jose? Is he the guy on the back end? Like, how do you view him in terms of what he's going to have to take on his shoulders?
Yeah.
Although it's a completely different world that he's moving into in San Jose versus
Yeah,
he can live in anonymity and just no one even know who he is there in San Jose.
yeah. I think that we all talked about it. The one year, I believe he had 12 or 15 goals.
Mhm.
Kind of gave him a false impression of who he was as a player. I think he'll be able to kind of just go
Still
back
a good player.
being a really good solid defenseman. If you told me his number was 6 million, everyone would be fine.
Mm.
The fact that he was at 9 is the one that really rubbed people the wrong way. Probably put unnecessary pressure on him to be more offensive than he necessarily is. I think he's a tremendous fit for the Sharks in exactly what he's good at. And that's exciting part for the Sharks and the moves that they've made. They clearly had to reshape their defense. They paid a little bit of a steep price with Trouba and him, but now they've got some guys to insulate the Sam Dickinsons. Not so much pressure on Orlov. Their defense needed to be improved. It is improved. I think these moves put them in a good position to make the playoffs.
All right, so did you see what happened to Connor Bedard? He was training, and he went into the boards awkwardly. He just fell. Like, no one was even really around him. And he got up in considerable agony, in a lot of pain, holding his shoulder. And you just wonder what level of seriousness he's looking at, and if he's going to miss time with the Blackhawks. You hope that he doesn't. I mean, they bring in Bowen Byram, and he signs, you know, and he gets a lot of money. I mean, $12.5 million. He's the highest paid defenseman in the NHL.
Yeah.
But I think he wanted to go to Chicago probably in part to play with Connor.
He also had leverage.
And he
made the move.
He had all the leverage, yeah.
They had negotiated that, which I thought was silly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, not negotiating the...
No, he negotiated the deal after he was traded. So Chicago had no leverage.
Why wouldn't you do the deal? You know what I mean? They do it all the time.
Yeah, do a sign and trade.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Why do you make that move when you know you got it? We probably made an extra $2 million because of it.
Probably.
Right? 10.5. He would have taken that.
I just feel like
he went from 6.5 to 12.5.
He's the highest paid defenseman.
He would have been in the game. 10.5.
Yes.
You just cost yourself $2 million a year by not.
Yeah,
they had to sign and trade.
They traded the 4th overall pick. They had to sign him.
If you gave him 10, he would have taken it.
Yeah. But Bedard, this is something to be. I mean, Blackhawks have to be on the edge of their seats right now. I got to ask you this. Mason McTavish, you working the San Jose games, I'm sure you watched him play, got a chance to see him play. What are the Blues getting?
First of all, I'll say this. I like the player. I think he's extremely skilled. Joel does have a tendency. If you get on the wrong side, you're not working your way back.
Could you watch and knowing Joel as well as you do, feel like you know why he would get on the wrong side? They put him on the wing. I think Granlund coming on board really pushed him out in a way.
Well, Joel also wants to play with pace. Okay, and Joel wants to play with pace, and if he doesn't fit into that model of how he wants to play, and I think McTavish, as talented as he is, his skating he's not the quickest guy, the most fluid guy, and I think that factored into it, the way that Joel wants to play. And he just found himself on the outside. And sometimes it's no fault of his.
All these young
he needed a change. I like the player. My only concern is that he doesn't play with pace. And the Blues need more guys who play with pace.
He's 23. Can he get faster? Can he improve his pace?
Well, I think that one thing we should talk about, and I hope he does adjust this, is he's jacked. Okay? Like back when I played, and now I'm an old timer, you needed that. It was a little bit different game. You walk into the dressing rooms today, the guys' forearms are the same size as their biceps.
Lean.
They're lean. They look more like long-distance runners. They have the big trunks and the big legs because that's their engine, but upper body is basically useless. There's strength, but it's strength on the puck. It has nothing to do with the girth that used to take place. And so I think he's going to have to adjust how he trains and what he does to become quicker.
Yeah.
But some of that could be like he was just probably training the wrong way.
And I've heard that from other people that, he needs to lean out. Like he's not fat. He's just jacked, like he said. And he's almost too big maybe. And we'll see. Maybe he will lean out and maybe that will improve his overall pace of play.
You just need a little bit more of that quick. He'll feel lighter if if he loses some of that and he starts to feel quicker. You'll see it on the ice. I think he can change that in the summer.
Yeah.
I really do.
But very skilled, right?
In
front of the net.
Yes. And smart, can play in all situations. Yeah. Great teammate. Haven't heard anything negative about this player. I mean, you're getting a guy, I believe he was drafted 5th overall. Third. You're getting a really, really good young player.
Yeah. And
sometimes you just needed a fresh start. So he's not going to have to be the guy, that's Thomas. He's going to slot into the 2-hole and plays in all situations. I think it could turn out to be a really good pickup. The only concern is the pace that he plays with, and I think that's something they'll just have to be honest and frank with him, and that needs to be adjusted now.
All right, who brought you to Hockey Sense today?
Well, we talk about our friends at Spas and More. They do a great job. I'm so excited. They're going to put in our Spa. I know you sneaked a deal behind my back to get one. I'm just kidding. You sneaked a deal in there as well. And
I went in the
very
hot tub
well.
last night, even
Oh
though
my
it's hot,
goodness.
and I turned the heat down in the water, and I felt like I had a swimming pool in the backyard.
See?
We had the tunes going because I've got the surround
Oh, yeah,
system.
of course you do.
And the waterfall was going, and we had the lights going, cocktails going. I mean,
Look at you.
I loved that.
And you're by yourself.
I was like, where is everybody? Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, but they're a local master spas dealer with 2 locations in Sunset Hills in Missouri and Overland Park in Kansas City. Mike Clay, he's the owner. His daughter does a fantastic job, Angie Hess. And they are the largest hot tub and swim spa manufacturer in the United States. They also got access to the Michael Phelps Chili Goat tubs. Can't wait to get mine. Spas and More offers high quality hot tubs, swim spas, cold tubs, and infrared saunas for all of your health, wellness, and relaxation needs. Turn your backyard into the oasis of your dreams with a master spas from Spas and More. Spas and More are located at 12957 Gravois Road in Sunset Hills, where we put the in spa. And obviously, we got our friends at Dobbs. And what I love about them, they're locally owned, family owned, over like 44 locations now in the St. Louis area. They do an unbelievable job. And what I love about them, and it's more about the relationship that you have, the people, the way that they deal with it. And it doesn't matter what you drive, a car, light truck, van, SUV, or hybrid, or whatever it is, or they can diagnose whatever's wrong with your car. The best part is they'll make sure they put you in the tires if that's what you need. They'll make sure it's within your budget. They'll give you options. They'll tell you, this is what you can do. This is what you're going to have to do. You have to change 2 tires. We should rotate these. If you want to wait to do the other 2, we can. They're always upfront and honest and make sure they stay within your budget and take care of you and get your car in, up, fixed, and out the same day. Go to Dobbs.com for more.
I love it. All right, Chandler, thanks for stopping by. Happy 4th of July.
You too, buddy. Enjoy it.
See you. All right, I hope you enjoyed this edition of Hockey Sense, brought to you by First Community. Hope you all have a great 4th of July. It was great to get into everything we got into with Jay McKee. I'm looking forward to seeing Adam Jirasek evolve and develop into an NHL player. This guy's going to be really, really good. He has a chance to be very, very successful at the NHL level. He's got a lot of ability and certainly got some good coaching in the Ontario League. And looking forward to Jirasek, probably my most exciting player to watch in a shortened training camp. We'll get into that as we move along, as we get closer to camp. But Jirasek should be a good one. And there's some other ones too. It's going to be an interesting camp. There's a lot of bodies, a lot of similar bodies. And we'll see if the Blues are done. I think up to this point, it looks like they could be, but you just never know. When that phone will ring again to Alexander Steen. And a surprise trade is made. You just never know. I'm glad Jonathan Berggren's coming back too. He's a guy you can just bring in and out of the lineup, and you bring him in and he just kind of gives you exactly what you need him to give you, which is speed and certainly some skill up front and some ability offensively to produce. You keep him in there long term. Maybe he runs dry a little bit, but he's a guy you can plug and play in and out. And certainly can be productive. You got to have those quality players off the bench that you can bring into your lineup, and he's a guy that can certainly provide that for the Blues. So, listen, I like the moves. I like the size they got in Johnston. I like what they got in McTavish, and I like the draft picks too. So we'll get into that more and more as we move along throughout the course of the offseason as well. We appreciate all our sponsors, of course, Mako. Visit Mako in Kirkwood today. David Novak, Blue Note Roofing, 314-920-5713. Lordo's Diamonds, St. Louis Lawn Care. Get your lawn cut today. And, of course, our friends over at Dirt Cheap Fun, your one-stop party shop. Download that app today. And also, our title sponsor, First Community. We appreciate everything First Community does for us here on Hockey Sense. I'm Andy Strickland, reminding you to keep your head up and your stick on the ice. We'll do it again next Friday. Have a great 4th of July weekend, everybody.